Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you from Santa Cruz, California, and I'm very excited to be here. I've been a chiropractor for over 35 years and working in the nutritional field with some of the most advancing guys in the field, like Jeffrey Bland, Dr. Dan Pompa, and various other people. And, today what I really look at is the toxicity level of our country, the health of our country is really being going under scrutiny right now with everything you hear in the news. And it's about time that we take responsibility for what's been going on with the health of our country. And it's not really that much of a mystery. Basically, we know there used to be a phrase, you are what you eat, and that was something popular in the 70s, was a book. And that may have been true back in before World War II or the turn of the 1900s to 18 and 1900s, because our food was so full of nutrition. It was all organic, just out of design, and our bodies were so much more able to stay up with the environmental toxins because there just weren't that many as there are now. Today we have 250 billion tons of toxins dumped on the planet every day, every year, which is ridiculous. Okay. Now, our bodies can only put up with so much, and the biggest factor in this for us is our liver. Our liver is like the major detoxifying organ in our body. It's, about the size of a small football, and it sits right in our gut below our stomach, and all of the dirty blood goes through it, creating clean blood, and then it dumps all of the junk into the intestines and or via the gallbladder and bile, or it recirculates it so that it can be excreted out of the kidneys through your bladder. There's also a component that is expelled through the skin and the lungs. So, today I want to talk about your gut health, and what it has to do with immunity, your immune system, and energy and happiness, really. Chronic inflammation is really the key to disease, and we've seen this so much these days. So I'm going to go ahead and just go through some information that I prepared here. And you can always see this. I'm recording these videos, and you can always watch them on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Duncan McCollum, if you ever want to see the visual that goes on with it. But so we're going to start with, just talking about gut health and its role in chronic disease. And we have so many bugs in our gut. We have 75 trillion microbiome or microbiota in our gut, which are little organisms designed to digest our food for us. We can't digest our food without these being there. I think about the early days when I think it was gosh, what was their name? The people that discovered the telescope, right? Fletcher's maybe, the two brothers and the microscope. And the first time they looked at a drop of water and saw those bugs in the water, they flipped out and declared war on the microbiome, or on the bacteria or viruses in our environment. And since then, they didn't understand that these microbiome, whether they're outside surrounding us or inside our body or on our body, have a symbiotic relationship with us, which means they protect us, the good ones. And so, just like a garden in your yard, you want to give it the right fertilizer and enough water to have a healthy crop of what you want to grow, and discourage what you don't want to grow by weeding out the bad guys and cultivating the good stuff. And that's basically what we have to do with our guts. And our guts have been systematically poisoned for the last many years. When I was a kid in the 50s and 60s, the mantra was the breakfast of champions. And what that was cereal, usually like cornflakes or sugar frosted flakes, or Rice Krispies or something like that, loaded with sugar. And if it didn't have enough, you'd put a couple spoonfuls on there. And And then it was toast with jelly on it and orange juice. So all three of those things, which we were told was the right type of breakfast to have, turned to sugar immediately. And the trick about the gut microbiome or the bugs in our gut is it's a supply and demand. So if you're eating a whole bunch of junk, then the demand is that those microbiome or the bacteria in your gut that love to eat junk proliferate because there has to be enough to turn that stuff into sugars, into glucose somehow, and get it into your body. The byproducts of some of those bugs are pretty bad. And so that's why we get disease. You know, you have some very healthy microbiome that digest our food, and basically they break down whatever we're putting in our gullet into amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, and make them small enough to be absorbed through the one layer thick intestinal wall into the bloodstream around our gut to be further cataloged and processed and taken to all the cells in our body, all 75 trillion of them. And then those cells pick and choose smorgasbord on what they want. So as a smorgasbord dish goes by, each one of those 75 trillion cells, each cell will decide what it needs to be as healthy as it can be that day. And it's going to be different for the liver cells, the kidney cells, the gizzard cells, the heart cells, the lung cells, the muscle cells, the nerve cells, the brain cells. They all need different components. The brain is pretty much all fat, so it needs a lot more healthy oils and fats so that it can sustain itself and actually become healthier. So if we don't have if our diet doesn't consist of healthy oils and fats, which I'll get into in a little bit, then we don't have the right oils for our brain. It's like putting really bad oil into your car, you know, and expecting the motor to run well. It's only going to last so long. It's going to heat up and probably blow up. And in our brain, we have all kinds of diseases today that are being turned on by bad genes. And I'll talk about the gut health and its role in chronic disease and pain as we go on here today. So anyway, so many people, you know, I think we've been led down a path that is, you know, consume what you want. If you get a symptom, either ignore it or cover it up and keep going and, you know, damn torpedoes. And, you know, those torpedoes are coming after you, and that's in chronic disease. So it's about time we learn how to eat healthy. But it's not just what you eat now, it's what you ate then. The damage is done. We have to repair the damage by what you ate, and now make sure that what we eat is nurturing the gut and our body and our brain rather than harming it. So it's not only what we put in our body, but what we put on our body, what we you know, wear, the soaps we use, the detergents we use in our clothes that we wash, even if you use a dishwasher and you put the standard dishwashing powder in there, it's loaded with trisodium phosphate and various other toxins that you wouldn't want on your hand. And these things, the non-stick stuff sticks to the plates. And, you know, we can go on and become fanatical about it. But the main thing is that you start to make choices on how do we improve our health as quick as we can, as easy as we can. And you want to pick the low-hanging fruit on getting your body healthy. And then depending on the chronic disease or pain levels that you might have, it's going to dictate what you need to do to make it happen. And it's going to be different for you and your brother or sister, mother, father, uncle, cousin, people you work with. We all have our own past. And not only that, but because of you know, what comes down generational, we get toxins 4 generations down through mom's umbilical blood. And this sets us up when we're born, and even before we're born in utero, with toxins that can be neurotoxins damaging your brain already. You know, cancer type of chemicals are in there. There's so many You get heavy metals like mercury and lead and just whatever how your mother's mother has been exposed to. It just keeps uh, going forward and passing it forward. So we come down on this planet with our hands tied behind our back or one hand tied behind our back. Now, this is something that we can get a hold of and we can teach you how to reverse those problems, but you have to want to do it. I have a thing in my consultation room. I never charge to sit down and talk to anybody about their health. We always do complimentary consultations. But there's a little plaque there by Hippocrates that says, before you can help somebody change their health, they have to be willing to change what it is that got them where they are, or something along that line. And, a lot of people aren't willing to make the changes, or they're willing to make some changes. And depending on your health, some changes might be worth it. Other times you got to make more rigorous changes. And that all depends on what's going on with your life and your health. So my job is to help you understand more of what you can do to become healthier. And that's my goal in life. We're in Capitola. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum. I've been a chiropractor for over 35 years. I've studied with some of the greatest minds in biophysics, biochemistry, and throughout those years and in practice with a lot of clinical experience of finding out what works for individuals, when do what you do long enough, you never want to presuppose that you know what's happening with that person until you sit down and talk with them and meet with them and find out what's going on with their life. But you do have a lot of experience and you can rule out some things and other things. What's happening right now, and it's been going on for quite a while, is that people jump to anything on the internet that might give them hope of health. And a lot of it is short-sighted, incomplete, and can cause more harm than good. Maybe you get lucky and you find some of the right things, but a lot of the detoxes out there are short-sighted. They don't get to the real root cause of the problem. And at best, a lot of times what they're doing is stirring up the pond and getting the muck that's at the bottom of the pond recirculating in the bloodstream. And those get washed up on the 75 trillion cells and can make them even more sick. So you want to be very careful, or maybe not careful, but you want to be very thoughtful on what you're doing to help your health. So that's why I'm on the air. That's why I'm talking to you on the end of this photograph needle, as Taj Mahal said on one of his records. But, it's so important that we understand gut health and its role in chronic pain and disease, because so much of what we put into our bodies, into our stomachs, get into this gut. And if it's already inflamed and already has problems, even the medications you take for the plethora of issues are going to have trouble working, because there's actually microbiome in your gut, or bugs in your gut, that help digest different things. There's some that digest fats, some that digest simple carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates. So simple ones are all the white stuff, bread, rice, potatoes. And then the complex ones are more of the vegetables, the complex, broccolis and stuff like that. So one microbiome doesn't do all. You need different ones. And then a variety of them. I think there's over 150 different types of varieties of bugs in our gut. And, they're all have a little bit different take. I mean, if you take a look at an egg and a sperm came together, and that was a stem cell, and then it divided and divided and divided till we're 75 trillion. There's 200 different types of cells in our body. They all need different things. So we need different manufacturing plants to create those, and those are the microbiome. And you want good, healthy ones in there, not ones that are going to be gumming up the work, so to speak. Like Lucille Ball in the chocolate factory. She couldn't keep up with it, and then it became a mess. So when your body can't handle the toxic load or the amount of food you're putting in your body and various other chemicals and supplements you're taking, it can actually do more harm for you. There was an article in Time magazine and also New Science of Health magazine several years ago. And one of them says the secret killer, the surprising link between inflammation, heart attacks, cancer, Alzheimer's, and other disease. What can you do to fight it? Now, this was a Time magazine cover that is probably 15 or 20 years old. The other one, the New Science of Health, can we cure aging, autism, cancer? What do we need to do to make this happen? And, prevention is in the eyes of the beholder in a way, you have to become a lot more aware of what you're doing. There's so much information out there. It can become very confusing, and you can do things that might make you more sick than healthy. So that's why I'm here, Dr. Duncan McCollum. I've had patients listen to my show and say my name more because they might jump in on this for a minute and then they forget who I am and they want to get help. So, yeah, I'm in Capitola, Dr. Duncan McCollum, a chiropractor, so I'd be more than happy to help you. But we're talking about inflammation in the gut, dysfunction of the gut, and its role in pain and chronic disease. So, in the gut, we have the right kind of bacteria and we have the wrong type of bacteria. And the wrong type has a name to it called dysbiosis. And so dys means wrong, biosis. So it just means these are the wrong functionings in the body. And we can get, when you get food poisoning, that is the wrong bacteria getting in your body and upsetting your whole body, and it could kill you, right? Or when you get different types of food that aren't really qualifying as food poisoning, but you get enough of the bacteria in there that it upsets your stomach. So it doesn't quite cross the line into that terrible thing. But these things take hold in the gut and propagate, and then they become their own living colony. And this colony is not good for you. It doesn't want to help you. It's living off of you, but it's instead of pooping out nutrients for you to use, they're pooping out mycotoxins that get into the bloodstream, get into the cells, get into the brain, and they can cause all kinds of disease. So this is why inflammation in the intestines can cause inflammation in the body, and it can cause bad genes to turn on inside the cell. So this is very important that we get a good idea on what we can do about this. So there's what's called the gut-brain connection or the brain-gut connection. We know that the brain and the gut communicate, and we weren't sure how it did it for a long time. We believe it's peptides, but there's like an immediate, when a lot of times people feel like, well, I blew it. I wanted sugar. I wanted ice cream. I wanted a cookie. I have to have this kind of food. And we think and we blame it on ourselves, when it's actually not you, it's the other brain. It's your microbiome in your gut starving for a certain type of carbohydrates or starches or sugars. And when they become, especially the ones that burn like uh, the fuel that burns like wadded up newspaper in your fireplace, it goes poof, creates heat, and then it turns to ash in a heartbeat. Well, that's some foods burn that way, like sugar, white bread, potatoes, the simple carbohydrates, candies. And this is what is really causing so much disease. You are what you ate. So many times people come in and they go, well, I've been eating really well, organic for the last 3 years or 20 years. And I look at somebody who's my age, almost 70, and I go, well, it's not what you've been eating for the 20 years. It's what happened way before that. Just like people that come in for chiropractic and I take an x-ray of their spine and they go, well, I've only had back pain for 5 years. And I take an x-ray and we look at their lumbar spine, say their low back, and see that one of the discs is almost completely gone. And there's arthritis in there to a point that it's not allowing proper motion. They go, well, I didn't have, no, 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 it's only been around for 5 years. And so my question to them is, well, if you ever had a toothache, and most people have, I've had my share for sure. And I asked them, well, how long do you think that cavity was in the tooth before you got the toothache? It could be years, could be a slow growing cavity or a long one, but you didn't have any symptoms until it got bad enough, or until, in that case, got to the nerve root. Same thing with chronic aches and pains in the body, musculoskeletal pains. It could be from an injury that you just had, or it could be sports you played in high school, or sitting on a job too long, or position wise, or it could be that, the weakness in the muscles. There's so many things that can cause pain. The gut has a huge role in that. But what I wanted to talk about, chronic disease doesn't just start one day. It's like about the same time, well, maybe 20 years prior to this, that Time magazine coming out with the silent killer being inflammation on it, that it had a picture of a guy named Jim Fixx on it, who was the healthiest man on the planet. He ran every day, ran marathons, was, you know, looked at as incredibly healthy. And then all of a sudden he died of a heart attack. Well, was he healthy the second before he had his heart attack, or did he just have no symptoms? He obviously had no symptoms. So the apparency or the lack of symptoms does not mean you're healthy. And you don't want to wait till symptoms occur if you can help it, because it already means the condition has gone on so long that it's very difficult to reverse sometimes. So prevention is the key, but very few people do that. They have a crisis occur, and then they find their way to some kind of doctor's office or my office or the internet and try to figure out how to get the uh, problem handled. The one of my staff had mentioned this, and I think I heard it on the air recently, that people have all kinds of problems. We develop all these different things going on in our lives that are upsetting us, that are this and that. But when you have a health problem, that's the only problem you have. So don't wait for that to come. Prevention's the key. Pay attention to the signs and symptoms. If you're having aches and pains, joint pain, trouble going to the bathroom, digestive dysfunction or uncomfortableness, you've got an underlying condition more than likely that would be a lot better to get handled now than wait before it becomes a big problem. So here's an article out of PubMed, and it's the journal, European Journal of Immunology, and the title says mucosal innate immune cells regulate both gut homeostasis and intestinal inflammation. So that's a mouthful. Mucosa, that's like the inside lining of your large intestine. And we have this innate intelligence. Our body wants to stay healthy. So these cells regulate homeostasis, which means, you stay healthy, and influence inflammation. So, homeostasis is kind of a tricky thing. It's like if you're too hot, you're going to roll down the window. If you're too cold, you're going to put on clothes. Your body can only handle a certain range of temperatures before it's dangerous and could kill you. Can only handle so much oxygen, or the lack of oxygen before it kills you. So much heat or cold before it kills you. The lack of food or too much food before it kills you. Too much or too little water. You can't get up in the atmosphere too high. You can't go underground too long. All these things are, relevant for us to be healthy and stay healthy. So, it's pretty obvious those parameters. But what are we doing on a daily basis that could be slowly putting another nail in our coffin? They say sitting's the new smoking, right? But we want to do whatever we can to get our bodies as healthy as we can. Right now I'm looking at this schematic, and then again, you can go to McCollum, Dr. Duncan McCollum YouTube and watch these shows with schematics on them if it's more helpful for you. And again, I'm Capitola, Dr. Duncan McCollum, and you can go to info@mccollumwellness.com if you want any information, or call my office, 831-459-9990. We're right in the middle of a 30-day cleanse right now, or a 30-day reset challenge for the first of the year. We'll be doing those periodically throughout the year, and they're something that you can just start anytime you want. So you can find out about that. It's going to help you decrease the inflammation in your body, get a pretty good handle of what you're putting in your body and what you want to take out, and teach you how to take a look at foods the right way so that you can start to move yourself towards a healthier you. And life is worth living. And so many people come into my office and they're, after they've worked a lifetime and they can't get around. They have peripheral neuropathy or, some other kind of balance issues and which, pains, and they're unable to go enjoy their life. And they've worked their whole life trying to get there. We've always heard of having a financial legacy put away for ourselves and our children, but never a health legacy. So the health legacy is something you need to start putting money or health in your health bank account right away. So the main thing is that when we're talking about gut health, we have to start to starve off the bad microbiome, the bad guys, and start to get the new ones in there. You do this there's several steps to it. Of course, you could go to the health food store and buy a bottle of, the right microbiome. It's really kind of silly. People go, "Oh, I took antibiotics, so I went and got some acidophilus and bifidus for a few days." That ain't enough. When you get the antibiotics, it kills them for a long time and it wipes out all these strains. And a bottle of acidophilus and bifidus, for a few days till you forget isn't enough. But you go, okay, well, I've handled that. And you go on in your life, not realizing there's a slow demise being caused by the killing of the good bacteria from the antibiotics, which don't do much anymore anyway. So the microbiome, kind of look at your intestine. Your large intestine is a big loop. It starts on the right side down low and by your hip and goes up to the bottom of your rib cage and goes across the top and then down the left side, then out. And the microbiome from the first part, the part that attaches to your small intestine that comes from your stomach, there's different microbiome along the way. It's like a manufacturing plant for a car. First you got the frame, then it gets painted, then you put on the wheels, then you put on the gearbox, then you put on the fenders, then you put on the seats and the interior and the steering wheel and gas tank. So all the way along that large intestine, there's different microbiome that all help with different processes of digesting different parts of the foods that you eat. When you look at the end, the microbiome near the end, it's about to leave. It's not very healthy. It's the bad stuff. At the beginning, it's the good stuff. So now it's all there on purpose and it's all there doing a job. And by the time you get to the end, it's like we've taken everything we can get out of this that's useful to the human being. Now let's just expel the rest. So it's pretty amazing. 100 trillion microbiome in there, all controlling, what our bodies and our 75 trillion cells can consume. And you realize we're more microbiome, we're more bugs than we are human, which is pretty amazing. So, the gut health and inflammation and chronic pain. So there's something called the visual analog scale of pain, where there's no pain and the worst pain possible, 1 to 10. And you might just take an assessment of yourself right now. Where are you on that scale? Are you no pain, mild pain, moderate, severe, very severe, or the worst pain ever? You can also do that for your health. Am I really healthy? Do I feel healthy? Remember, no symptoms. Mildly healthy. Sometimes I get some symptoms. I just don't feel good right now. And just can't get up and move around. Gosh, I feel terrible. And then the worst pain ever would be potentially chronic disease. And, right now, 80 million Americans have multiple chronic diseases. And that's according to Michigan State University. But it's all starts, for the most part, in the gut. So we need to really pay attention to how we can help our gut become healthy. So, one of the things that I recommend people do right away is take a look at the oils that you're eating. We have 75 trillion cells and they all have a cell wall on them. Those 75 trillion cells are what eats food. You think that you eat food to fill your stomach. Well, that's just a symptom telling you that the cells need more fuel. So when you put food in your stomach and you might feel full, the real process is the breaking down of that food and distribution of it all to those 75 trillion cells. So the microbiome in our gut break it down into all those components and go around through the bloodstream with a smorgasbord, offering it to all of the different cells, and they take what they want. Kind of like at your party, and they're walking around with hors d'oeuvres. Some appeal to you, some don't. Well, different cells in our body need different type of components. So it's important that we get enough of each available. And the different microbiome in our gut, if they're healthy, they can create all those. They can create the transmission or the fender or the seat or the steering wheel or the motor. But you get bad, unhealthy workers in there and you end up with a bad product. So healthy oils like coconut oil, medium chain triglyceride, which is usually coconut oil minus one of the three, which is makes it solid. Organic olive oil. Now you really have to pay attention to olive oil. The only way you know you're getting 100% pure organic olive oil is to buy California organic olive oil, 100% grown in California. There's a brand out there that has that state's name on it, and some of it says 100% pure organic California olive oil, and some says Mediterranean blend. And there's a black market for, oh, go figure, there's a black market for olive oil. Who knew? So you want to make sure you're getting healthy olive oil and if you put it in the refrigerator and it turns color, that's good olive oil. If it doesn't solidify, then it's a blend and it's probably got bad stuff like canola oil or vegetable oil or seed oils and stuff like that. These things are rancid. They actually get on the cell wall and make the cell wall impermeable or decreases its permeability to the nutrients that need to get into the 75 trillion cells, which is the only life part of your body, by the way. And they need to absorb nutrients so that you can sustain life. Now we are, whatever your thoughts are, I believe I'm a spiritual being and a human having a human experience. But that human experience is the body, the 75 trillion cells that are carrying on all the functions of life, of livingness. But I'm here enjoying the ride right now. How well are you enjoying your ride? This is you are the steward of your body. How is it doing? It's not too late to change it. So we stopped at olive oil. We got organic avocado oil, which is great. Grass-fed butter is really good because it has short chain fatty acids in it, medium chain fatty acids, butyric acid, and others, which are incredible immune boosters. So it's really important that you eat butter, not nickel inflated canola oil with red dye number six in it or yellow dye number six. That's, a toxin, a neurotoxin. And that's canola oil, that's margarine, right? And so butter really is a healthy oil, especially organic butter. Um, then you have ghee, which is a clarified butter. There's a lot of other things. Fish high in fat, the fish that is not Atlantic or farmed fish, that's loaded with mercury and antibiotics. I posted on my private Facebook group called Health Rebels, which you're welcome to join, a video of Atlantic salmon run at about finger length, about 6 inches long, running through this um, scythe, whatever it was, this ladder, and then each one would be injected with um, vaccines and antibiotics because the pool that they put them in is so loaded up with bad bacteria that those fish would get sick and die or get sick and pass it on to you. So when you eat Atlantic salmon or farm raised fish, you're eating antibiotics. It's just like eating cows that have been fed grain that's been fed with or sprayed with glyphosate. It's the same thing or chemical fertilizers. So you got to stay away from that stuff. and also organic fatty, high quality meats. Okay. Now, I showed there's something on the internet, you can look for it, where you can see a pork leg, one filled with um, grains and one just natural grasses. And the one filled with grains, you can see the fat layers about a half inch thick around that leg, where on the one filled who was raised on grass, it didn't have all that fat. And so just imagine that's what the inside of your body looks like. And that's why we are so prone to disease, because that fat stores toxins, heavy metals, molds, um, different forever chemicals, glyphosate, all of the, excuse me, forever chemicals that we've been hearing about in the news. There's a food pyramid that has been pushed on us since probably World War II or before. And, it has a little bit of oil on there, some meat, um, some dairy, vegetables, and fruit. And then the whole portion, probably 40% of that pyramid is loaded up with grains and breads and white foods, which are simple carbohydrates that turn to sugar in a heartbeat. And you wonder why we're the most obese country in the industrialized world. You know, um, I think 50% of our children are overweight or obese. When I was a kid, it was, just 6% maybe. And we have incredible amount of autoimmune disease now in the young people, let alone in the grown-ups. But this is so much because of something called inflammation in the intestines. And so my show today, if you just tuned in, I'm Dr. Duncan McCollum, is about gut health and its role on chronic disease and chronic pain. And right now, I was just going into the food pyramid that has been pushed on us from the Food and Drug Administration for years, which is predominantly grains and very little oil. And you wonder why our brains are drying up. So the new revised health pyramid from our food pyramid from people that have really studied how the body heals is that on the top you have some fruit and nuts and seeds. Berries are the main fruit. A lot of fruit. And people, I mean, I love fruit. I had a farm. We had 50 different fruit trees on it. It was amazing, avocado trees and stuff like that for 20 years. And I loved the seasons that they came. The problem with eating too much fruit is it's fructose, and fructose is only digested by the liver. Um, and when you overload the liver becomes sick and you get fatty liver disease and all these other things, which, by the way, can be reversed if you talk to the right people about it, in most cases. Um, so berries are great. They're great for the brain. Nervous system, things like that, specifically the dark red berries. And then you have after that with the healthy fatty foods, the cheeses, the dairy, butter, things like that. Then in the middle of the pyramid are vegetables, the um, different type of vegetables that they're low in carbohydrates and they burn slowly, kind of like, the real bad carbohydrates, the ones that they recommend burn like newspaper to create fuel. The carbohydrates, the low glycemic index ones, are the ones that burn slowly. It's kind of like, not necessarily oak, but a medium wood that burns relatively quickly, but not as fast as newspaper. And then you have the oak, which burns really slow and long, and that's the kind of foods that you want. So near the bottom, we have the proteins and the oils. The oils burn as ketones, and that's really important. And they also protect the body. The oils protect the cell walls. The cell walls become healthier because of the ketones or because of the fatty acids that are broken down in the large intestine by bile, which comes out of the liver and breaks these globs of fat into tiny little micro molecules that can be absorbed through the intestinal wall, which is one cell thick, by the way, and get into the body, into the cell, and create, and will get into the cell wall and become a healthy, pliable cell wall that has um, gates and channels for vitamins and minerals and hormones to attach to and get in, as well as allowing the toxins created when energy is made in the cells to get out. So all those 75 trillion cells are all an internal combustion engine, each one of them. They all have a carburetor, just like your car, or fuel injection system, just like your car. Fuel goes in, it better be good fuel or it's going to gum up the works. Energy's made, creating exhaust, and the exhaust has to come out. All that stuff ends up in your intestines, by the way. Some of it goes out through the lungs, some through the skin. The intestines it goes through the liver, and the liver decides that it's going to make it water soluble and have it excreted out the kidneys and the bladder, or if it's going to become solid waste and go down the colon tube. So, take a look, find the healthy pyramid. Call my office. You can get a copy. You can call up and get a copy of this show. We can send it to you if you want. 831 or excuse me, 831-459-9990, or info@mccollumwellness.com. Crystal will pick it up and we'll send you the link to the show when it has a lot of visuals on it that might be helpful for you to see. So you want to eat food by nature is really what it comes down to. Any food that has gone through processing is really not going to be healthy for your body. It's either taken out the nutrients, it's put in additives and fillers. If you're in a store and like the right thing to do is to go into the store, take a right, go down the right aisle, across the back, across the left aisle, and then out. So stay out of the middle aisles because they're all processed foods, and in those processed foods they've allowed something like 1,300, probably a lot more than that, additives and fillers. Some of them you don't even know. There's if you even look at, let's see if I have that slide here. Um, you look at the poisoning of our youth and the foods they eat, like Cheerios, sugar, um, and some other cereals are showing, things like corn syrup, cornstarch, um, canola oil, monosaturated canola oil, and then trisodium phosphate. Then what? Trisodium phosphate on the label of the ingredients of the cereal our kids eat, trisodium phosphate. You use that to clean your oven range top to get the grease off of there. What's it doing in our kids' foods? I had a slide. I'm going to have to dig it out. And I was visiting my sister one time, and she lived in LA, and I would go grab the newspaper and in the morning, and she'd be asleep. And she had these waffles, these frozen natural, 100% natural waffles. So I go, okay, I'm going to eat one. And what do? They have all kinds of information on the box, so you read it. And while you're eating your waffle, and it went down the list of everything in there, and one of the things said, no sewage sludge on fields. Huh? This product is made where they use no sewage sludge on fields. I this was blew me away. This was like 15 years ago. I still have the slide somewhere and the box, and I should find it because later on I found the box again and they took that line off of there. So does that mean they're using sewage sludge? But there's so many ways that the powers that be try to get rid of toxins. They mix it right into the food we eat. Even the whole debacle of fluoride. They say that it's actually a poison, and they put it in our water to get rid of it. And it's the dumbing down of our health. So anyway, you want to eat organic foods as much as you can. And even if you go to the farmer's market, what's really important is to shop from different farmers for the same product. So if you buy broccoli from one farmer, the next week buy it from somebody else because it's grown in a different field with different microbiome in the soil. the roots of those plants can only absorb nutrients out of the soil by the with the help of microbiome in the soil. Funguses and things, they actually break down the food particles so the vegetables can eat it. It's not just the roots of the vegetables absorb nutrients out of the ground. And, we are surrounded by a sea of microorganisms everywhere. When that big debacle happened a couple years ago, everybody was afraid of a virus. Well, we're surrounded with so many viruses and so many bacteria and bugs and protozoa and, things everywhere. Not on our skin. We're completely covered with them. Not a tiny bit of our skin doesn't have a microbiome on there, which is working with us to help protect us from the bad stuff in the environment. So remember the Fletchers that invented the microscope, and they looked in and saw that thing wiggling around in water, and they declared war on the, the microorganisms, and not realizing that they're actually trying to kill the thing that's keeping them alive. And thank, thank God that bodies are so resilient, or we'd probably be gone. When you realize what we've been doing to our bodies all these years, what food we've been putting in, starving these bodies to death, now our brains are drying up. So many bad genes get turned on and chronic disease happens. So again, we're talking about gut health, inflammation in the gut, and its role in chronic disease and pain. So when you have bad microorganisms in your gut, then they're not going to digest your food well, especially if you're eating junk. Then it's just a mishmash of toxicity that gets into the large and out of the large intestine into our bloodstream. And then that flows around and gets in our joints and our organs and our brain, and it just causes problems. Inflammation in the joints causes arthritis. Inflammation in the brain causes dementia, brain fog. Inflammation in our organs cause all of those to not function well. And then we're like an old jalopy running down the road with blue smoke coming out of the exhaust pipe and steam coming out from under the engine. The windshield wipers are worn out and squeak. The windows don't roll down, and the seat has springs sticking up in your rump, and the power steering doesn't work, and it's too hard to turn the darn thing, and the wheels are out of balance, so it's rattling down the road. A lot of us are going through life with bodies like that. And, a little bit at a time, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And you can turn your health around by learning how to do it the right way. Don't fall for everything on the internet. Make sure that it's well founded, and really the ultimate goal is not a quick release of symptoms, but a long-term improved survival rate. So you can enjoy your life, enjoy your grandkids, enjoy, walking on the beach at 65, 70 years old, 80 years old. I have so many people come in with what we call peripheral neuropathy. Their bodies just aren't working well. Their nerves are dying from, you take a plant pull it out of the ground and you see all those roots, and you take it and you wash it off and you stick those into a toxic substance, toxic water devoid of nutrients, and it's going to start to kill the roots. It will kill the plant. If you catch it soon enough, pick it up and put it into a new nutrition filled liquid, and filled with the right components, that plant will come back stronger than ever. Your body can do the same thing. You just got to pick it up, move it over, and give it the right thing so that it can get healthy. And there's no time like the present. So the role of healthy bacteria in our gut, they promote fat storage, which is, too many people have too much of that. They promote angiogenesis. So when you have some bacteria in your gut, you get new blood vessel growth. Genesis means new, and angio means blood vessel. So proper bacteria in our gut help create new blood vessels in parts of our body, and it develops and trains the immune system. These certain microbiome in our gut help our immune system become stronger. Other of the microbiome in our gut help us create, it's called biosynthesis, or it synthesizes vitamins and amino acids out of what we eat. Some of them metabolize some of the medication you may have to take. Other of them modify and strengthen the nervous system. These are different bugs in your gut, and they need to be there, and they need to be there in, you know, a lot of them in order to help you get down healthy. They also break down food compounds. You know, the right microbiome will do that, and they're resistant to the good ones, help resist the bad ones. They're resistant to pathogens. So when you have the right microbiome in your gut, they're going to make sure that you don't have the opportunistic bad guys don't take over. You know, when you're not paying attention, the opportunistic bad guys take over, and that's causing chronic inflammation in our gut and leading to chronic pain and chronic disease. So, sure, you can get rid of the symptoms or mitigate them with some way or other, but really important is let's turn it off at the top. And other microbiomes protect the intestinal wall itself. It protects the what we call the epithelial lining. Epithelium is the skin, or in your gut, it's the skin of your inside of the wall of your gut, which is made out of the same cells as the outside of your gut. But at any rate, you need to protect that, and they do that not only on our outside, but throughout our body, throughout our digestive system, and help prevent something called leaky gut. Um, they also help with the health of the bones. They help make sure that we have enough nutrients to get our bones strong. And so they know how to break down different um, minerals and collagens that we need in our bloodstream to help keep our bones healthy. So it's so important to take care of our digestive system, especially if you want to get your digestive system, you know, the inflammation out of your body and the chronic pain out of your body. Chronic inflammation causes chronic pain. So it's really important that we get that handled. Yes, really want to watch what you're putting in your body right now. The forever chemicals, I'll do a show on what's under your sink and what's in lurking in, you know, your car and your driveway and in the furniture that you need to be able to get rid of. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, coming to you from Santa Cruz, California. Really want to help you get healthy. This has been all about your gut. And you can get a hold of me, 831-459-9990. If you want to get a copy of this show, you can go to info@mccollumwellness.com and just say, send me the show on the gut. And I've got a lot of pictures in there. It's an audio. This is, you can also find it on Dr. Duncan McCollum YouTube channel. And I also have a podcast, McCollum Wellness Radio. But you know, my goal is just to help you get as much information as you can. We're coming up to the end of the hour. Only you can prevent chronic inflammation. Only you. Okay. Fixing your gut is a good place to start. So I hope this has been helpful for you. And I'll be weekly, I'm on the air trying to give you guys all the information you need to be as healthy as you can. And I really appreciate y'all. And go out there and have an awesome day. And we will see you in the funny papers. Remember, fix a cell to get well, and make sure you're eating your good oils, staying away from the simple sugars. And Dr. Duncan McCollum, 831-459-9990, info@mccollumwellness.com. Thanks and have a great day.